What is up? Reese Micknick here, and today we're going to do a video on history. What about history? Top 5 events of the 20th century. I'll see you there. Starting with number 5, Japan bombs Pearl Harbor. This right here has to be one of the most savage attacks in history. This attack was on Pearl Harbor by the Japanese Navy. What they attacked was the United States naval base, leaving 2,403 Americans dead and 1,170 injured. What this says about humanity in Japan is that they're willing to fight the U.S. not on their own land. They don't want to go to their own land because they're afraid they might get beat. Or they just don't have a good enough army to go fight the U.S. Army straight up. But they would do anything just to sneak above them in the rankings of this war. And they got good on this attack. Number 4 is women gain the right to vote for the first time. On May 22nd, 1920, women were finally able to vote for the first time. Sadly, to this day, men are known as the more dominant gender to most people in our society, at least they think. Yes, we may seem stronger than they are, but they can be some smart individuals, and if we would have went through with this earlier, you don't even know what could happen with this world today. There could be more smart people, more bad things could happen too. Maybe women could be empowered today and our whole economic system could be different. This shows about society and human nature at the time did not value women's opinions because they were not the most superior gender to them. And like I've said, if this was brought into effect sooner, it could be totally different. And to be honest, this should not be an event that should have happened through. They should always be allowed to vote. And event number 3 is World War II. This global war lasted from 1939 to 1945, leaving 50 to 85 million deaths, one of the most deadly conflicts in human history. The main goal for Japan in this war was to dominate most of Asia, to take over most of China, mostly Western China. This war featured Germany, Italy, and Japan. The result of this mess was Germany set up peace treaties. The countries that fought Hitler all lost their territory and had to pay reparations to their allies. Germany and its capital Berlin were divided into 4 parts. This shows that governments were not satisfied with running their own country world. They wanted to run the world. This proves that they were needy with what they had and they wanted more. And what happened with this was a nuclear warfare that did not end up in a great way for many countries. Number 2 on this list, World War I. This event was a bloodbath that lasted from 1914 to 1918. Only expecting to last a few months, ended up lasting more than 4 years, as Germany, Austria-Hungary fought against Great Britain, Russia, France, Italy, Romania, and Japan. At the time, these countries, the people in the countries had no idea what war actually was or what it meant. They didn't have any source of internet to tell them that it was a bad thing. They all thought it was a good thing and that their countries would eventually take over the world. What they didn't know is a terrible thing and it leads to many deaths. It never really ends in your way most of the time. This shows that most members in these countries were considered followers, not leaders. They wanted to go with the big idea to take over the world, not the smart idea to lead their country and stay stationary and do not mess with any other country. These people got persuaded into them thinking the war wasn't good, yet it really wasn't. And to top this list, the event of the Holocaust. The Holocaust, also known as Shoah, was a genocide during World War II in which Nazi Germany systematically murdered around 6 million Jews. This was between 1941 and 1945. They did this at a camp called Auschwitz, which was supposed to be a concentration camp, the first place for Jews to stay in. But it ended up in Hitler murdering many people. This shows inhumanity, especially Hitler, will do anything to upgrade his power even more than it already was. This also shows how lousy Hitler was. He wanted them all dead, but he couldn't do it himself. Couldn't do it face to face. He had to rely on gas chambers, ovens, etc. He didn't have the courage to do it face to face. This also says about humanity that persuading people can be huge, because Hitler was elected into the government in Germany. So this proves that the government had it. They had this leader that come in and thought good things were going to happen, and it turns out to be one of the worst epidemics in human history.